We begin today, chapter 30. Chapter 30, in one word, shval, aloneness. We're talking about, since chapter 29, about the timtum alev, the dullness of the heart, the insensitivity that you can have in your heart that is unresponsive to meditation, contemplation, about your relationship with God, the greatness of God. It just isn't, the fire isn't taking hold. And you own your life, feel very responsible, and want to improve. You want to be able to have a sense of connection, a sense of the divine. It should not just be purely intellectual or just doing, but the heart needs to be engaged. So we spoke in the previous chapter about different methods on how you can humble, crush the negative side. Spoke yesterday about raging, the good over the bad, something only to yourself, not to someone else. Don't be in a rage. But if you need to crush some negativity, sometimes you're going to say, "Oy, stop it." Yeah, it's a rage. Spoke more about that yesterday at length. Today we continue with this. A new method. These are methods on how to humble, to crush the ego, the animal soul, the sitra acher, the negative side within us, in order to allow the soul, the divine soul, to shine. So, in order to deal with this timtum alev, this coarseness, this insensitivity of the heart, so in this chapter, you should follow the instructions of the sages. In Pirkei Avos, in the Ethics of Our Fathers, it says in the 4th chapter, "Havishval ruach b'fnei kol adam," that you should be low of spirit before every individual. Commentators have a difficulty with this statement. There are two types of humility. One is that you feel less than others, and another is that you don't have a sense of self-glorification, and therefore you can appreciate others. The first is the first type that we spoke about, and we just mentioned. It's called shiflois, less than, inferior. And the other one's called anivus, which basically means recognizing the powers that you have, the qualities that you have, and that if those qualities another person would have, they would fare better than you would. That's a humility. But that's not what we're talking about over here. We're talking about shiflus, shval, meaning low, aloneness, that you feel less than. And as the Mishnah says, less than every other person. So many of the commentators have a difficulty with that. How could you be less than even an outright sinner, someone who's not a good person? So therefore, many people want to learn that it means to conduct yourself in a self-effacing manner towards others. Therefore, you'll treat every person with deference, as though they are superior to you. But it's as though. But the Alter Rebbe does not accept that understanding, because in Hebrew the words are havei, you shall be, shval ruach, lowly in your estimation before others. It says you shall be, not you should consider, but you shall be. In other words, really be sincerely. In other words, even in the presence of the most worthless of worthless individuals, Kal Shebekalim, that's what you should do. How are you going to get there? That sounds like a pretty difficult task. And, the Alter Rebbe won't mention this, but, why should you get there? Excuse me. So, how to reach that? How can we be expected to feel that even we're less than the person who's like, a real sinner? So, to understand that, we have to now explain another teachings from Pirkei Avos that says, Al tadin es chaverecha ad shetagiyah limkaimei. Don't judge your fellow until you have stood in their place. So the Alter Rebbe says, stood in their place, in a literal sense, physically, is the first understanding. In other words, physically, this person, where they stand to make their livelihood, is, like an outdoor, outdoor street corner kind of individual, who the eyes are always gazing, and being in such a place to make a livelihood. Of course, you're going to encounter, unwholesome people, unwholesome situations. And, if you're out there all the time, So it's the place that causes. Don't judge a person until you reach their place. It's their place that's causing their lack. So in other words, in this sense, a physical place, because, you could be at home, you could be, behind, the curtains, the veils that separate you from the negativity of the world, but not this person. Oh, right in the middle of all of it. That's one understanding, the physical place that causes. And then there's the spiritual place that causes, meaning that this person is who you're looking at, comparing, who's a sinner, really a far off, not a good quality person, right? And this person has a heart that is like a furnace that is fiery with passion, lust, addictions. And it's hard for them to rein that in. Whereas another temperament of an individual is that they're able to rein it in. They're able to deal with it. They're not as greatly tempted, because we see that the evil impulse in every individual is different. They're not the same. That is today's class. It's actually short point. So, humility in the 21st century is not necessarily something that people either have an understanding, an appreciation, or feel that, it's for bygone days. Humility is for the weak. But if you're strong, you're going to present yourself. You own the world. You're in control. And of course, that's not the case. So there is a humility that you just feel that you are achieved a lot, but the reason you've achieved a lot and you are where you are in life is because you've been given a lot, and you recognize that, and therefore you don't self-aggrandize because you realize that your greatness is not due to you. You've been given great abilities. So the humility actually is that if someone else would have my abilities, they would accomplish a lot more. I would accomplish a lot less. So that is a very Um, it's a very healthy thing. But what we're talking about here goes even a step further. Shiftless means a smallness. You know, now to feel so small, you got to be very strong and know exactly who you are, that you could feel that you are even less than the most, kind of worthless person. Not that we make the judgment who's worthless, and I don't think that's not the idea over here, of course. The idea, though, is that looking at that person who might be just, a real, a real character, as they say, and yet you can feel that you are less than them. And how do you do that? When you understand another person, what brings them to do bad. When you can understand that it's the kind of job that they have, and it's the type of character that they were given. So it's their physical place, it's their place in their spirit that causes all of this negativity. Then it's easier to be humbled by it, as we will further see. At the core of humility is the idea that I'm not the center of the universe, that the center of the universe is God, and I'm here to serve. That itself is a sign of humility, an act of humility. That we're here to serve. People think that when they're strong, and macho is, they're being served. That's a weak person who needs to be served, who needs to be needs to be served. So this idea of humility that we're here to serve is then a very crucial and invaluable quality, because that's what leads us that we can make that shift. Because I really believe that the biggest issue that we need to handle is intellectually and then emotionally. Am I here to be served, or am I here to serve? So the human condition is that it's here to serve me, and everything is here to benefit me, not to hurt another, but it's still, I lead my life for the benefit of my life. And that's, of course, self-serving. It doesn't have to be, terrible things that you're doing. It could be wonderful things you're doing, but it's self-serving. Or I'm here to serve what God needs from me, which will be serving my family, serving my community, serving, that's the ways that it'll express itself. That this is the first crucial point. Yeah. Okay. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? 2 question marks before you ask a question. I don't see any questions. On Facebook, any questions? So Sam asked a question, how does one deal with people who perceive humility as weakness? Yeah, I'm not certain why you have to deal with those people. But you have to show them that you're not weak. That's weak. don't have to show anything. Just be yourself. And they think it's weakness. That's their foolishness. It's actually a great strength to be able to have that. But how do you deal with that? Just be what you got to be. And I can't see how you can. Not exactly certain how you would deal with it. Be quite frank. Not certain. Michael.
The analogy on the marketplace, that the one who walks over the marketplace can find more things he can sin. Is this also meaning for the uprising? Because when somebody raises up in an environment with yeshivas and somebody raises up in an environment with secularity,
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you're sitting and studying Torah a whole day, you're not going to have the same kind of temptations that if you're sitting, on the street corner, on the hot summer day with people, dressed the way they might dress. Of course, it's going to be very different. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Davida, how can we sustain humility 24/7? So I don't know if it's I don't think it's black and white 24/7, but I guess if it's I really believe that this is the mantra we have to tell ourselves. I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve. Hashem, what do you need from me? Whatever you need, I'm here to serve. Whatever it is. That's the mantra. And saying it over, truly believing it, and little by little, you'll be living it. But yeah. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps, Davida. Instagram, there's a question. With the exclusion of evil people, Amalek, we're not talking about, Hitler and Stalin and Amalek, talking about your friends and family. Start there. I'm sure there's some people that are, not so wonderful. And so start there. Yeah, that's where we need to begin. Okay. All right. I don't see anything else. All right. Short class today. To be continued. Sina.
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to say to the question on Facebook of how to deal with other people perceiving you as weak. What I do is I pay attention to what I do and what I can do. I don't get caught up in what they think of me because that's their judgment. And as we learn, judgment isn't always a good thing. And it can really put you down into a really bad spot. So what I do is I pay no mind. I do what I can do. I do what I have to do. And sometimes I slip up, and if I take their judgments, it will make me feel even worse instead of trying to improve that thing that I slipped up on. So
Yeah.
that's always a good thing to
Yeah.
remember.
Very
Don't
good.
make mistakes every week. Just focus on what you can do to better yourself.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfecto. All right. Wonderful. All right. Conversation to be continued. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad, Zichron Kadesh, Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you that Tanya. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all for joining. Be well.